Hi all, where I welcome you all to this next episode of Master Speaks. And in this episode of Master Speak, I have again been fortunate to get one of the finest authors that India has seen, in my opinion. And it was my good fortune to read a good number of books by this person. And the latest book that I want to talk about is this one, which is called Win the Battle of Your Mind in the Age of Social Media. Now, this book comes from a person who's very established as an author. So rather than guessing it furthermore, I'll request Madam if you can please give a brief introduction and then we can get into the question answer sessions.
Thank you, Shreeram, for having me, and thank you to everyone who's viewing or listening this. Yes, win the battle of your mind. Scroll less, read more. That's the message on the side. This is my sixth book. I am a biographer, I am a reading coach, and I review books for Network 18. I also write for Boston Consulting Group. That is my professional intro. I am extremely passionate about promoting the reading habit, and I think that is the focus of our talk today. So, over to you, Sriram, to bring on the questions.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. And I'll just get started with the opening one before we deep dive into the book. You have been, one of the finest biographers known, great author. And why all of a sudden that this book comes about, about reading habit?
So, thank you for your kind words, Sriram. When I was promoting the books, earlier books, say Sanjeev Kumar, Savitri Bai Phule, Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra, when I was conducting events promoting my books, I had audiences who would constantly ask me that, ma'am, in today's time, what is the value of a biography? Because we can watch a biopic just as easily. And I used to tell them all the time that when you read a biography, you activate your own creativity. And when you view a biopic, you appreciate someone else's creativity. So there is a vast difference in what it does to you at a cognitive level. So I realize that more and more youngsters are thinking that viewing is the same as reading.
Mm.
Experientially, from an understanding point of view, from a takeaway point of view. And I felt that if we allow this opinion to proliferate beyond a point, we may reach a point of no return where we are constantly having to advocate the benefits of reading, which till 20 years ago was taken for granted. That yes, reading has multitude benefits. So I decided to write this book and call out the problem we are facing today, which is very simply loss of skills due to lack of reading. We need to call this problem out and we need to together awaken the people about this because this generation is very intelligent.
Mm.
If we tell them this is the pit you're falling into, I have a sense that they're going to avoid the pit on their own. We must give credit to them. That was the root cause behind wanting to write this book, Sriram.
Amazing, ma'am. So now I'll get into the book, and if I see right in the early chapters of the book, and I felt that that the if you just see the cover, it talks about reading, and there are other ways as well. So why reading you thought is the best means?
So I wouldn't say best, worst, right? Because there are people in the world with different learning styles, and a lot of them even seek medical intervention, right? So let's for a moment speak about the vast majority, okay? And let us talk about reading and its benefits from an evolutionary point of view. There are five stages in which our brain evolved. Language was the last step in the evolution of the brain. Okay. And even in language, speaking, listening came before writing and reading. Writing
Absolutely.
and reading are just 6,000 years old.
Mm.
So, reading and writing are the last frontier of the brain's evolution.
Mm.
The brain had to evolve that much over 600 million years for us to be able to read and write. So, we got reading and writing after a lot of work, which the brain did on its own as a part of evolution. This is the first thing we all need to understand. Second thing is, like when a child opens its eyes, it cannot read because there is no genetic marker for reading. So reading is not passed down. Just like we taught ourselves to read as a species, every child teaches itself to read with
Mm,
time. All
mm,
our senses are active when our eyes open, except
mm,
reading.
mm,
There are four parts of the brain that have to come together and perform like an aerobic exercise
mm,
every time we read. So,
mm,
reading is a rigorous activity. So, reading came to us late in evolution. It involves a certain amount of cognitive rigor, okay,
mm.
which gives us skills. Reading is a layer on which you can build all other skills because first
I,
you learn to read and then you read to learn.
I
Okay.
agree.
And the last and the most important thing is in which mode of learning do you get to set the pace?
Mm,
Think about it. When you listen, you are listening to the person who's delivering at their pace.
I
When
agree.
you read, you set the pace. Even
I-
video, the pace is set by someone else.
mm,
Reading is the only cognitive activity of intake where you set the pace. You decide how much you're going to read, how fast you're going to read, in what way are you going to read. So they say that when you read, you collect the dots. When you think about what you read, you connect the dots.
I agree.
So that becomes a very unique cognitive activity. So reading has all these very deep rooted benefits that we need to start talking about. And the
Absolutely.
more people realize it, Sriram, I have no doubt that we will come back to it in a very big way.
Absolutely. So now that when we started talking, we also spoke about the new generation, and we said that there is a chance that they might skip the pit altogether. So coming on that, I wanted to check, what is the cost of continuous declining attention span that you see?
So in the book, we have written that, we had an attention span of 12 seconds, and in 25 years, it's come down to 8 seconds. Now, look at our young. Their primary social interaction is with a box, with a screen. A screen which has the power to accept or reject them.
Mm, I
It's not,
agree.
it's not an empty screen.
Mm,
So instead of human interaction, they are interacting with a screen which gives unilateral decisions.
mm,
Whereas all emotional interactions involve some level of give and take, debate, emotional hurt that you have to process, come out of, right? So there are human consequences of interaction, emotional consequences of human interaction
mm,
that a generation might skip,
mm.
right? The more time we spend with a screen, the less time we spend with each other, and the more fragile we become in
I
terms
agree.
of are we equipped to deal with difficult situations, right? So when a difficult situation comes up, I don't know how to deal with it because my interaction has been with a screen all along, right? So
I
this
agree.
is one of, are we going to therefore avoid people just because they are difficult? Are we going to avoid people with ideas different from our own? Because that's so easy today.
I agree.
And will I therefore become more and more frightened with time? Is
Mm,
fear and avoidance going to be my way of life?
mm.
These are the consequences of not reading that nobody's talking about.
I agree. I agree. No, absolutely. What you're saying is very true that, that if people are choosing screens over people, then the life will become even more tougher. So I'm coming to the next part of the book wherein, as we see further, you are, you advocate about reading fictions and how does they help or how do they help in terms of, can you also relate this that in terms of you have talking about some kind of information gathering which is permanent and expiring? So how reading fiction helps from that perspective?
See, I talk about all kinds of reading. You should read fiction, you should read non-fiction, you should read poetry, you should read short stories, you should read essays. I believe that reading should be vast and varied, first of all. Now, During my sessions as the reading coach, I conduct various sessions at corporates and schools and institutions. Girls often come to me and tell me that parents scold them. Oh, you are sitting with a storybook again.
Mm,
Parents actually believe that reading fiction has no value.
mm,
Whereas reading fiction is one of the most um, enriching experiences cognitively. So, one of the benefits I will share, there are many, but I'll share one in particular. When you read fiction, you have to maintain the story link within your brain,
mm,
right? And the plot is going to unravel after a period of time.
mm.
Unlike a show where you can read episode summaries and know what happened in the last episode right away,
I
a
agree.
book unravels at its own pace. So, the reader of fiction not only empathizes with the characters as they go along, but also stays in ambiguity for longer.
Mm,
What is the benefit of staying in ambiguity? I don't get an answer right now, and I'm okay with it.
mm.
Isn't that one of the primary problems today? I want an answer right now for everything because Google will give it to me anyway.
I agree.
I am not willing to stay in ambiguity.
Mm, true.
I want answers now, even if they are convenient,
Absolutely.
right? So, reading fiction has many, many benefits.
Mm,
The other part of your question about permanent and expiring information. Sorry, yeah?
yeah. Yeah.
Now, this is in a book by one of the finest writers of the present generation. His name is Morgan Housel. He has written this book called Same as Ever.
Mm,
And in that, he explains the value of permanent information
mm.
versus the value of expiring information. So, what is expiring information? Let's understand that to understand permanent information. Okay.
Absolutely.
Expiring information is, say, the results, the quarterly results of a company right now. Okay. So all your reporting will be around, say, first quarter results, second quarter results, right? How did the company do? Or we have a match today, say, for example, an IPL match. So
Mm,
the short term performance of a batsman, how do you feel about it? How did he do today? What was his technique today? What was the bowler's technique today? All of this is expiring information. Now, see, expiring information comes with nice, flashy headlines.
I agree.
Virat Kohli scored 100. Everyone's
Mm,
happy. The whole country is happy. So, expiring information is easy to discuss.
mm,
Everyone has an opinion about it.
mm,
Okay. It does not take into account a long term view.
mm,
Okay. Permanent information, on the other hand, is how do you deal with ambiguity? How do you handle risk? How do you respond to difficult situations? Right? A lifetime of reading the difficult and important books which are part of your interest area,
mm.
whichever your interest area is. Your interest area may be to know more about negotiation skills. So
Mm.
you may read a lot of books on negotiation skills and you
Right.
build permanent information along the way.
Mm.
You become a better negotiator with time.
I
You
agree.
become better at handling risk with time.
Mm.
So this is permanent information.
Amazing.
So expiring information is flashy headlines.
Mm.
Permanent information is buried in books.
Amazing. Yeah.
This is the difference, and this is why we need to focus on reading what you need to use. Use what you read what you use. It is fine.
Mm.
Don't be defined by what anyone else tells you. This is a classic, you should read it. With due respect to every classic and all the effort that's gone behind it, I'm saying read whatever you can use. Read
Abs-
for pleasure, read for your own pleasure.
mm.
And don't be dictated by anyone else's choices about what you should read.
Amazing. But this is wonderful to bring in this kind of a knowledge that that hey, that what is it is going to stay with you for long, and how books they really help you. I really feel that, especially when taking example of Sherlock Holmes, the way
Ah,
the way it was written, and the way author wrote it before. So like that even the his cases were being used to solve the real world problem. So
yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
So Ma'am, further coming up to the book, and I was actually going through, and on page number 57, that's a very beautiful thing that you put up, which is called the health matrix. Now, I'm showing it here.
Yes.
And health matrix is something which immediately gets your attention to. So I wanted to understand from you that you came up with this idea of health matrix, what it is and how to use it.
So, first of all, HELP is an acronym for Hexagonal Learning Plan, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I thought to myself while I was writing this book, are all intelligent people readers?
Mm,
You find a lot of people who are very socially aware, very present,
mm,
but are not necessarily deriving all that from reading,
mm,
right? You find people with exceptional interpersonal skills.
mm,
You find people whose main mode of learning is travel. You find people who have incredible presence because they are meditators. You
mm,
find people who are very calm and take their time to respond because they are learning yoga or some other spiritual practice like Reiki, any spiritual practice. So one realizes that there are so many modes to learning. Does reading help you learn all of them better? Will reading be a part of all those modes of learning? Yes. But I also want to celebrate someone like the homemaker,
mm,
who is putting all her or his emotional intelligence to use in keeping a family together, in keeping a community together, who plans nutritious meals for her family, who reads up on what is nutritious, who reads up on, what health conditions the elders in the family have, who makes food for each person in the household basis their requirement. Her son may be a sports person, her father-in-law may be a diabetic,
mm,
but she is putting in all this time and effort.
mm,
And does it matter whether she reads 10 books a month or not? Or can we appreciate her for who she is, for the learning styles that she has created on her own? She may be a meditator, she may be learning from interpersonal relationships, she may be on the local Rotary chapter,
mm,
forging creativity within a community.
mm,
So I wanted to make sure that this book does not necessarily create a binary. This is
mm,
a world of readers and non readers. That's
mm,
not what I'm saying at all. As
mm,
a reading coach, I am naturally going to speak about the benefits of reading. But
mm,
I want to talk to every single person who has
mm.
mastered their own way of learning, their own learning plan. Because
Absolutely.
typically we are all on our own learning plans.
Mm,
And we are on two of these learning plans at any point in time. And
mm.
sometimes we even alternate between them.
I agree.
You will find that somebody took up spirituality much later in their life, after
Mm,
40s. Until then, their primary learning plan was to put themselves in difficult situations at work. But
I agree.
suddenly they chose spirituality,
Mm,
switched their learning plan. So,
mm,
this learning help matrix is for each reader to look at, identify, and see whether reading can be one of those plans for them.
thank you.
Maybe they didn't find the time, maybe they didn't find the environment, maybe they didn't, get the right trigger,
Mm, I agree.
right? So, this is just as inclusive as it gets towards personal mastery. That is my objective with the help matrix.
Absolutely. I really felt that this is a great piece of a matrix which actually helps you to
Thank you.
think about what is it that you feel that you can do and really put you back onto track the way you wanted. So, ma'am, the thing as we were reading this further, as I was reading this further, and I just wanted, there were a few good episodes which are being written about people, those who are not from actually, not in the offices or teaching job or whatnot,
Yeah.
coming in from a different background. So if we talk about artists and athletes, so how does reading book help them also, if you can talk about it?
You know, last week, a sports federation reached out to me.
Mhm.
And this is confidential, so I will just say this much
Mm,
that the biggest barrier for an athlete is in the mind.
Right.
You will find 100 athletes with
Mm,
the same potential.
mm,
But the person who brings the medals for your country somehow has an emotional advantage.
I agree.
And you can call it the X factor, you can call it drive, you can call it being denied in other aspects of your life, whatever their motivator is.
Mm,
So this sports federation reached out to me and said that, can you talk to us about reading and mental preparation to perform at the highest level of sport?
mm.
So this is a course I'm actually creating right now.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, because Sriram, connecting the dots
Mm,
is something. Even Steve Jobs said that you can only connect the dots looking backwards.
mm,
So when LeBron James tells you that I read
mm,
um, when I need a break, and
mm,
I read when I need perspective. And
mm,
Novak Djokovic says that Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now is the most important book that
mm,
has shaped him as a champion.
mm.
You can connect the dots looking backwards,
I agree.
right?
Right.
So, as far as sports people is concerned, reading, mental health, motivation, excellence in the moment that they need to perform, one is a natural progression of the other. And them reading themselves is, of course, the holy grail, but them realizing that reading can help them is where I come in, because the benefits of reading can only be accrued by reading,
I agree.
but the
I
awareness must exist.
I agree. Absolutely. It's very, very well put up. And this is really phenomenal to know that, that even sporting federations are reaching out to you and they understand the value of reading. So, further, if I go further, few more pages down, and therein you are talking about, that there is something called working memory and there is something called episode memory. And what are they and how reading really helps building them?
Okay, so we have various types of memory in the brain. From a reading point of view, I have highlighted these two,
Yeah.
right? Working memory is holding on to a specific piece of information for a specific task. So,
Mm,
a simple example would be a reading comprehension exercise.
mm,
So, you've read the passage and you
mm,
have questions. So, it's a specific task. So,
mm,
you keep what you have read in mind to answer those questions,
mm,
right? So, reading is proven by neuroscientists to enhance working memory, to keep information in your brain while you're processing a particular task. Episodic memory is being able to recall things from the past,
okay.
from another episode altogether in your life,
Mm,
where you connect something that happened in your life. Uh, I was in this situation and I faced this. So the next time I'm in that situation, I have already made room
mm,
to face that. And I'm
yeah.
already making those adjustments in my mind that this may come up. Here's the contingency plan for this.
Okay.
So that is episodic memory.
Mm,
Neuroscientists again have done a lot of studies and have proven that episodic memory is also enhanced. You see, the very act of reading
mm,
trains you to keep information in your head as you progress,
I agree.
isn't it? So it is
I
very
agree.
natural to link it. But
Mm,
think about it and extrapolate it to your everyday life, activities, things that people will hold you accountable for.
mm.
That is the important thing.
I agree. This is where I guess when you're talking about, it doesn't matter whether you are reading a fiction or a non-fiction. So to hold, things in your memory which are immediately being required and will be required over a period of time, I really feel, yeah, that reading book would really help there. I'm coming further in the book. You're talking about, that, the business families, when they start working on their succession plan, they should also have a book list that needs to be given so that the next person who comes in is actually is well equipped with that kind of a reading. So would you like to share something there?
So I actually worked with a family for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
This assignment came via a referral
Mm-hmm.
where the father and the son couldn't see eye to eye.
Wow.
And the most difficult part was this:
Mm-hmm.
the father wanted the son to respect him in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
The son was not able to offer that in the way the father wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And this constantly led to friction.
Mm-hmm.
So the father mistakenly felt that the son only wants the money,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
but doesn't want to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the son felt
Mm-hmm.
that his way of working would be different.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted his father to be more accepting of his way of work.
Mm-hmm.
I may not do things the way you did them, Dad, but it's not that I don't want to work.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that my way of working, my understanding of the world,
Mm-hmm.
my world, and the world I have been born in are fundamentally different from the world in which you operated. So, you know, things build up over time,
Mm-hmm.
and this was a proper gap
Wow.
that had come between the father and the son.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying this won't come between mothers and daughters, and fathers and daughters, and mothers and sons, but the case that I worked was a father and son. So, a well wisher of the family who
Mm-hmm.
was, asked to mentor the son
Okay.
reached out
Mm-hmm.
saying that, hey, I see this gap.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you can help? So I said, I have never done this before. Let me meet the father and the son, and I will tell you if something can be done.
Sure.
And the funniest thing was the father felt that the son had to do all the work, and the son felt that the father had to do all the work. So one was standing on line A and one was standing on line Z.
Wow. Quite a gap.
I knew that both of them had to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a reading list prepared for both of them.
Amazing.
And while a majority of my sessions were with the son, I
Mm-hmm.
had to tell the father that till you're ready to walk, we won't find middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
So this took 3 years,
Wow.
and both of them, I think today, even have all their meals together.
Amazing. That's really some achievement.
Yeah, because we need this. We need this. What is so unique about India?
Mm-hmm.
Our entrepreneurial energy, our family values, right? The fact that even today, if you
Mm-hmm.
ask a son to touch his parents' feet, they
Mm-hmm.
will readily do it
I agree.
without asking why. Why should I touch someone's feet? We have family values.
Mm-hmm.
We have huge entrepreneurial energy.
Mm-hmm.
We need to preserve these family owned businesses beyond. There's a study that they have never lasted beyond 7 generations, and the maximum is three, the average.
Yeah.
So we need to keep them alive. And this continuity, you said you were part of a family office, right? I think
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Uh, so, yes, I think it is possible to bring families together and offer longevity to businesses with proper succession family through the reading coach method.
Amazing. So I guess this would have been really interesting that, you might have chosen some books which are how the previous generation should look at it and how the young generation should look. I guess this would have been an interesting, assignment. So,
It was.
yeah. And coming further, as I was reading the book, you came up with a very interesting list of books, that potentially that a CEO should read. So was it difficult to curate, or how did you curate? What was your journey about it?
This was the most difficult page to write in the book.
Mm,
Uh, you know, out of say 8 million titles or that I know of,
mm,
from all accounts, 8 million good titles. Um, to choose books, perhaps the first limitation was that I chose from what I read.
mm.
That would be the first limitation of the list.
I
And
agree.
therefore, I would say that this list is a suggestion,
Mm,
right? It's a suggestion.
mm.
Every person should choose as per their interest level, because the guilt of not finishing a book you started plays havoc with your mind.
I agree.
So, this is just a suggestion. Go out there, check these books out, but choose what you want to read.
Mm,
Choose the book that you need to read, because you
mm,
should use what you read and read what you use.
I agree. Right.
So it's just a suggestion, Sriram. I wouldn't go beyond that and posit myself as any expert here. Have
Mm,
I read these books? Yes. Do I
mm,
think they are incredible? Yes. That's why they are there.
mm.
But make your own list.
No, but I'm very happy to see that, out of 40 that you suggested, I have read seven of those. So I'm still happy that, okay, I'm a good, I'm a good candidate to try to work on this though. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. In fact, we should have, reading lists that are curated for roles.
Mm,
In fact, I think learning and development departments within the HR department, they are trying to do this. I speak to a lot of them. They are trying to run libraries, book clubs.
mm,
HDFC has a very good one.
mm.
Uh, this is the effort to
Right.
curate libraries, to bring employees to book clubs, and to ensure that they read on their own. I think
Mm.
companies are doing good work here.
No, I completely agree. Means, as I was working in TCS for quite a lot of time, and we were in the strategy team, but they wanted us to read. They wanted us to take exams, score more than 80%, and then only go in front of the customers because they want us, they are very particular about this brand image of Tata. And
Mm.
for that, you have to really work hard and go there. You cannot, just go there and say something which is not up to the mark. So from that perspective, I've seen this firsthand, even
Mm.
while working with the other roles also. So I guess from that perspective, quite a lot of companies I have seen in my experience are actually putting in effort in terms of learning. But yeah, I guess reading clubs are certainly certain things that they should be looking at.
It's interesting because, um, Prime Minister, for example, the Honorable Prime Minister used to read a lot, but he used to read about Indian art and culture in Gujarati.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, he was an avid reader. His biographer has written it.
Mhm.
Very interesting. So I think that while each person, each professional may have their own mode of learning, if reading has been your mode of learning, especially in the period before the age of 25, where neurogenesis was higher, your pathways are created, neural pathways to absorb information, process information, connect the dots. They are created in a very powerful way, and they help you with all learning modes throughout your life.
I agree. I completely agree. So, ma'am, coming back, I'll once again tell this to my all listeners and viewers of this podcast that this is a phenomenal book. And in this book, the thing is like it's not only the advices, how our brain works, how reading helps, but coming towards the end of the book, you find very beautiful questionnaires. And ma'am, my next question to you is regarding that only that, how do you assess readers' current level and identify an improvement plan?
So there is this thing called a Lexile score. Okay. So there is a Lexile hub online where you can go put in the name of the book and find the Lexile score of the book. Okay. And a Lexile score is typically a 150-point range.
Mhm.
So um, if your Lexile score is, say, 500, if the Lexile score of a book is 500, which means that the range is from 350 to 650.
Okay.
That's the 150-point range.
Mhm.
So we know for sure that you can measure the Lexile score of a book.
Mhm.
And from the kind of books a person reads, you can get an estimate
Mhm.
of their ability to read difficult books, mid level books, easy books,
Mhm.
right? From their reading list and what they have read. Now, in fact, we were discussing this at the Department of Science and Technology the other day.
Mhm.
How do you measure it? The delta
Mhm.
of an individual over time. To my knowledge and to their knowledge, such a thing does not exist, and we may have to come up with these
Okay.
metrics. But a Lexile score does exist that gives you some indication of where you stand.
Amazing. So the next thing which I also wanted to understand, because the beautiful question is given here, which can help a reader big time. And I would really recommend everyone who's interested in reading to buy out this book and really read the book so that it helps you, that how you can really relate where do you stand today and how it is really helping you in shaping up your mind. And I was actually also speaking to somebody else, and a person who teaches, and he was also saying that that the biggest challenge is like our education system only tells you that that this is right and this is wrong. But when you're reading fiction or when you're reading books, they'll put you into situations, and in real life, you really have to work with situations. So I can only request you all to go with this book and read complete book, and at the end also fill in the questionnaire so that it helps you. It will help you. There are QR codes to scan, and you can go to the website and you can actually really hover over the entire stuff about reading and can actually learn beyond the book. So, ma'am, if somebody coming to, again, question related to measuring progresses and all. So, how do you measure progress in reading comprehensions, fluency over time?
So, as I said, a metric for this is not available.
Mm.
But, one of the people who has written an essay in the book, Ajay Chaudhary ji,
Yeah.
he's the co-founder of HCL. He is called the father of Indian hardware, and he's a very, very avid reader. He always says that when an employee stands up, even in a room of 100 employees,
Mm.
and talks to me, I know whether they are a reader or not.
Absolutely.
And experienced people know
Mm.
it's the level of preparation. So I was in a meeting with a team leader who told me, she said that, ma'am, people do not prepare before meetings.
Mm.
I give them reading lists, I give them market data, I ask them to study all that and come for the meeting prepared so that we can create a strategy. And it's just 20% of the room that reads and comes.
I agree.
80% of the room is just nodding.
Mm.
They are going to piggyback on this 20% because they've not formed their own convictions. So they're not going to argue the points out, whereas healthy debate is so important.
I agree.
Earlier also I said that the biggest danger of not reading is to agree with convenient conclusions
Mm.
because you've never invested time to form your own convictions, your own ideas about that subject.
I agree. I
Without
agree.
healthy debate, we will never adequately cover the long term consequences of actions.
Mm.
That
Absolutely.
is my
Yeah,
uh, concern.
I absolutely agree to this. My dad used to tell me that, when you read a book, you spend, say, few hours on reading a book or maybe a day or two, then thrice that time, think about why author is saying so.
Wow.
So that will really help you to understand, why is that.
Yes, yes. You have to contemplate because, the neural pathways are formed during this contemplation. This
Mm.
is the work of Eric Kandel. He's a Nobel Prize winner. He
Mm.
said that when you stay with the information is when you cause the neural pathways to form.
I agree.
And when you jump from stimulus to stimulus to stimulus to stimulus,
Mm.
because you've not stayed with any piece of information for that long, the
Mm.
neural pathways are not formed clear enough on which you build skills.
I agree. Very deep and important, actually.
Those are the challenges.
Mhm. Some now that we have almost read the entire book, or we have seen, means at least in my perspective, I try to read everything, and
Thank you.
quite a lot of questions being asked about the book. I One thing which I would like to learn furthermore, and which is like, about, can you help or can you please tell that what are the effective strategies for anybody so that they can develop a lifelong learning habit?
See, reading has to begin very young and by example.
Mm.
Studies suggest that children who read for pleasure at young ages
Mm.
literally stay out of prison later in their lives.
Wow.
And reading is also a great equalizer.
Mm.
So, children who again read for pleasure, they manage to overcome three things:
Mm.
their socioeconomic background,
Mm.
the level of education of their parents,
Mm.
right? And the other disadvantages that they may be born with at work, at
Mm.
birth.
Okay.
So they are able to overcome these. So you will always find that when Chaiwala ka bacha became an IAS officer,
Mm.
right? So you
Absolutely.
have all these stories. They all begin with dedicated, devoted reading and study and deep work.
Mm.
Now, let's look at a preschool setup. Okay.
Mm.
You play a lot of games. I think one of the games should be library.
Mm.
Must be introduced in every preschool
Mm.
where children borrow books. They read them for, whatever period of time within a class.
Mm.
Say you're given 10 minutes to read. And then there is a librarian. One of the children is a librarian. They put the books back. Have I collected all the books back?
Mm.
Right? So even at home, people play ghar ghar, doll, right?
Yeah,
Why not library?
I agree.
We need to create these environments.
Mm.
Later in school, behaviors that get rewarded, get repeated.
Mm.
Every school on its annual day should recognize maximum borrows from the library.
Mm.
Who
I.
has borrowed the maximum from the library?
Mm.
Submitted summaries this year. Every school must recognize the
Mm.
most avid library child.
I agree.
You understand? So, because unless you reward behavior, why will it be repeated?
I
You
agree.
are only going to reward first who got the first rank.
Mm. The
That is,
positive reinforcements.
yeah, you reinforce positive behavior. It is almost like you're asking an elephant and a monkey both to climb a tree together.
Mm.
And then you're judging them on the same parameters. Did the elephant climb the tree first or the monkey climb the tree first? Oh, the monkey is first. Monkey came first. Monkey
Mm.
gets first rank.
I agree.
You you cannot have a cookie cutter approach. Now, from the time that India became independent, we cannot even imagine the number of challenges we have had as a nation. There was food security, there was defense, there was the green revolution, there was the milk revolution.
Mm.
We've traveled so far, and it is so easy to sit and say that education system is bad.
Mm.
Everyone is learning.
Absolutely. The country
what
needs a reading revolution.
what prevents you from reading and becoming a self learner?
Absolutely.
I genuinely believe, Sriram, that we should not sit in judgment over anyone's work.
Mm.
If we are to set an example, we must go right ahead and do it.
Absolutely. Wonderful, ma'am. This is really great, and I really enjoyed having this conversation with you. And I'm sure that everybody who is actually seeing this podcast and hearing this, I'm sure that they would really like to read this book, and I'm sure that they'll be able to shape their life better by reading more and more. So once again, ma'am, I'm really thankful to you for taking out your time, and what you have done is actually a great service to all the authors. Not only that, but uh, equipping everybody to give them an opportunity to shape their life better by reading more and reading good. So thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you, Sriram, for taking the time. And
My
yes,
pleasure.
I do wish that we all awaken very quickly to the danger of loss of skills due to lack of reading, and that this generation picks up books. My message is that you are all extremely intelligent, you prioritize well, so prioritize what matters too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, ma'am.